You're idling at a red light after Juma in your $87,000 Ford F250 King Ranch Edition. The leather seats smell new. The dashboard glows like a spaceship. When you roll past that Corolla, you sit 6 inches taller than every other brother on the road. You feel powerful, capable, like a brother who can handle anything life throws at him, complete with the matching custom kufi sitting on the dashboard. Except here's the thing, you're a software engineer. Your job involves zero construction, zero farming, and zero towing. The bed of your truck has carried exactly 3 items in the last 8 months. A bag of mulch from Lowe's, your kid's bicycle, and a case of Costco water for the Masjid Iftar. Meanwhile, you're hemorrhaging money so fast that you've become a walking subsidy program for Ford's quarterly earnings report. And the halal car finance product you used to buy it didn't change a single dollar of that math. My name is Omar, and today we're going to calculate the actual cost of the pavement princess epidemic in our community specifically. Not what the dealer tells you, not what the brothers at the masjid parking lot justify when you ask about their build. We're going to run the numbers on what it actually costs to cosplay as a blue-collar worker while commuting to a climate-controlled office where the heaviest thing you lift is a laptop. Because somewhere between 2015 and now, American Muslim men collectively decided that masculinity could be purchased through monthly payments on a vehicle designed for commercial construction work, and the halal car finance providers were happy to wrap it in a contract that gave brothers permission to ignore the underlying math. Let's start with the purchase price because that's where your brain stops working. The average new pickup truck in America now costs $62,000. That's the average. If you want the one that makes you feel like a ranch owner, you're at $75,000 to $95,000. For context, that's more than most US Muslim families earn in a year. The median US household income is $84,000. According to ISPU's American Muslim Poll 2025, 35% of Muslim households earn under $30,000, which means you're financing a vehicle that costs more than 3 times what a significant portion of our community brings home annually. Let that sink in. The dealer sits you down and shows you the monthly payment. It's $1,247. That sounds almost manageable when they stretch it over 84 months. That's 7 years. You'll be making payments on this truck for longer than the average American marriage lasts. $1,247 seems doable until we start adding the costs nobody mentions during the test drive. First, fuel. Your F250 gets roughly 15 miles per gallon in mixed driving if you're lucky. A Honda Accord gets 35 miles per gallon. If you drive 15,000 miles a year at $3.50 a gallon, the truck costs you $3,500 annually in fuel, and the sedan costs $1,500. That's $2,000 a year extra, or $167 a month, just because you wanted to sit higher than every other brother in the masjid parking lot. Insurance. You're not insuring a work truck, you're insuring a $90,000 luxury asset. If you total a Camry, the bank loses $30,000. If you total your Platinum F25, oh, they lose $90,000. That massive replacement cost spikes your premiums. Realistically, that's an extra $60 to $80 a month versus the sedan. Tires. Those massive all-terrain tires you absolutely needed even though you exclusively drive on asphalt to the office and back run $1,500 to $2,000 for a full set every 40,000 to 50,000 miles. Sedan replacement is maybe $600. That's another $50 to $75 a month amortized. Maintenance, bigger everything, oil changes cost more, brake rotors cost more, everything is scaled up, another $100 a month versus a normal car. Registration. On a $90,000 truck in many states, you're at $800 to $1,200 a year. Another $80 a month, added up, truck payment $1,247. Extra gas $167. Extra insurance $60. Tire depreciation $75. Extra maintenance $100. Extra registration $80. Total monthly cost of truck ownership is now $1,729. We're not done. Because you didn't pay cash. You used a halal car finance product, which sounds like it sidestepped the reaper problem. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, depending on which scholar you ask and which specific contract you signed. But here's what the halal wrapper definitely did not change. The profit rate on the halal financing was structurally similar to the conventional auto loan rate, the depreciation curve is identical, and the total cost is essentially the same. Some halal car finance products even charge slightly higher profit rates than the conventional alternative because the contract structure requires more administrative overhead, so the wrapper didn't save you money. It just gave you permission to feel okay about the lifestyle drain. Over 84 months at 7% halal equivalent profit rate, you're not just paying $90,000. You're paying roughly $14,000 in profit equivalent cost beyond the truck's price. That's $14,000 you handed to the halal finance provider for the privilege of accessing their contract structure to buy a depreciating asset. The contract wrapper doesn't make that $14,000 less of a real expense than conventional interest would have been. The math is identical on the spreadsheet. The only difference is that you sleep slightly better at night because the brochure said the magic word. That's not nothing, but it's not $0 either. Brothers who use halal car finance to buy vehicles they couldn't afford in cash and tell themselves the wrapper sanctifies the purchase are misunderstanding what the wrapper does. The wrapper, if your scholar accepts it, addresses the structural form of the transaction. It does not transform a financially imprudent purchase into a financially prudent one. Let's compare to the alternative universe where you bought a 3-year-old Toyota Camry for $28,000 in cash, skipping the halal versus conventional finance debate entirely. Your monthly is $0 because you paid cash, insurance $180, gas $125, maintenance minimal. Total monthly transportation cost roughly $400. The difference between driving the truck and driving the paid-off sedan is $1,329 a month, $15,948 a year. Over the 7 years, you'll be paying off that truck. Choosing the truck over the cash purchase sedan cost you $111,636. That's not exaggeration. That's not fuzzy math. That's the actual opportunity cost of needing to feel like you could theoretically tow a boat you don't own to a lake you've never visited, all while the anti-network at the masjid notes that you've made it. You're not just spending $111,000 extra, you're losing the screened equity returns on that money. If you took that $1,329 monthly and invested it in a Wahed account, or HLAL/SPUS, at a conservative 8% annual return after 7 years, you'd have $145,000. You could fund Hajj for the entire family, max your kids' Islamic school tuition for 5 years, fund a meaningful Waqf endowment at a masjid, and still have money left over to actually become the person you're pretending to be when you drive that truck. Instead, you're sitting in traffic burning premium fuel while making payments on a vehicle that loses $15,000 in value the moment you drove it off the lot, and you're behind on your zakat because the cash isn't there. None of this accounts for the psychological weight, the stress of knowing that one unexpected expense, one layoff, one medical bill could collapse your ability to make that $1,729 monthly payment. You're not driving a truck, you're driving a financial anxiety machine with all-terrain tires and a halal finance contract on top. Let's talk about what happens when you destroy your finances slowly over 7 years while convincing yourself you're being practical because the contract said murabaha. The truck warps your entire financial ecosystem. First, there's the halal home you can't buy. Mortgage lenders look at debt-to-income ratio. They want total monthly debt payments under 43% of gross. That truck payment alone eats 26% of an $85,000 salary before you even think about a guidance residential diminishing musharaka payment. You just locked yourself out of a $350,000 halal financed house because you needed to look rugged in the masjid parking lot. Second, there's the umrah you can't take your parents on. The package was $4,500 a person and you couldn't justify another $13,500 for the family. So mom and dad keep waiting. Third, there's the Hajj fund that never materializes. You were supposed to be putting $400 a month into it. After the truck payment, insurance, rent, and groceries, you've got nothing left. At $0 a month, the Hajj fund is going to mature exactly never. Fourth, there's the kids' Islamic school. Full-time tuition is $12,000 a year per kid. You can't swing it, so they're at Sunday only at a much weaker program, and you tell yourself it's fine, even though you know it isn't. Fifth, the credit cards. You can't afford new work clothes, so you put $400 on the visa. Your cousin's walima is out of state, so the hotel goes on the card. Eat clothes for the kids on the card. Within 2 years, you're carrying a $6,000 balance at 23% interest. You're paying $115 a month in pure riba interest while telling yourself you're a halal mortgage-focused, halal car finance-using, practicing Muslim. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Sixth, the relationship strain. If you're married, that truck payment becomes a third person in your marriage. Every financial discussion is shadowed by it. Your spouse wants to save for a halal home. You can't because of the truck. Your spouse wants to send the kids to full-time Islamic school. You can't because of the truck. Your spouse suggests selling it and you get defensive because you've tied your identity to the vehicle. Resentment builds. The truck isn't just costing you money, it's costing you peace and quietly damaging your marriage. 7th, the career risk aversion. You can't quit the job that schedules meetings during Jummah because you need the steady paycheck for the truck. You can't negotiate aggressively for a raise because you're terrified of getting fired. You can't take the entrepreneurial risk on the halal-aligned side business you've been dreaming about. The $90,000 status symbol turned you into a wage slave inside a job that requires constant compromise on your deen. The really twisted part is that the truck doesn't even make you happy after month 3, hedonic adaptation. You get used to anything. That first week, climbing into the cab feels amazing. By week 12, it's just your car. The thrill is gone. You don't even notice the leather seats anymore, but the payment is forever. 2 parallel universes thought experiment. Universe A. You bought the $90,000 truck with halal car finance. You're making payments, stressing about money, skipping zakat in lean months, and stuck in a job that schedules meetings during Jummah. Universe B. You bought the $28,000 sedan in cash and invested the $1,329 monthly difference into a Wahid account holding HLAL and SPUS. After 7 years, Universe A, you owns a truck worth maybe $45,000 and has zero savings, plus you're a year behind on zakat. Universe B, you owns a paid-off Camry worth $12,000 but has $145,000 in screened equities. You've paid zakat cleanly every Ramadan, you funded an umrah for your parents, and you have the financial bandwidth to leave the bad job for a smaller paycheck role at a Muslim-owned company that respects your prayer schedule. Which version is actually winning? Here's where I lose some brothers. You're thinking, but I actually use my truck. I haul stuff. I help at the masjid setup. I tow my cousin's boat sometimes. Sure, and if that's genuinely true and you're using the truck's capabilities weekly, then fine, you're buying a tool. But be honest with yourself. Most truck owners in our community use the bed maybe 4 times a year and rent a U-Haul for $29.99 the rare times they need to haul something bigger. Over 7 years, that's $836 in rental fees versus $111,000 in opportunity cost on the truck. You're not buying utility. You're buying a costume. The auto industry has spent billions convincing American men that truck ownership equals masculinity, competence, real manhood. They've created an entire mythology around it. The commercials show trucks conquering mountains and towing boats covered in mud. They don't show the reality, which is a brother in business casual sitting alone in traffic listening to a podcast on his way to the office where he'll sit in a chair for 9 hours. And the halal car finance providers are quietly happy to participate because every contract they write is recurring revenue regardless of whether the underlying purchase makes financial sense for the buyer. Some brothers will object that I'm being too hard on halal car finance specifically. Let me be precise. I'm not making a ruling on whether halal car finance products are themselves permissible. That's a scholarly question and the views genuinely differ. Some scholars approve Sharia-compliant murabaha-based auto finance under necessity, particularly for genuine work vehicles needed to earn a living. Some are more cautious and treat auto finance as a discretionary purchase that doesn't meet the necessity bar that might otherwise activate a permissibility framework. Some scholars reject the entire category as substantively riba, regardless of contract form, on the basis that the economic outcome is functionally identical to a conventional loan. The Islamic finance guru team has documented this debate extensively. AMJA Imams reviewed the major US Islamic auto finance contracts at their Dallas conference, and Joe Bradford has discussed the form vs substance question in multiple talks. The honest answer is that there's no monolithic Muslim position on these products, and that the brothers who use them should know where their specific scholar sits on the debate before they sign rather than after. Mufti Taqi Usmani has written extensively on the AAO-IFI standards that govern these products. Joe Bradford, IFG, and other recognized voices have all weighed in. What I am saying is this. Even granting maximum scholarly latitude that the halal car finance product itself is permissible, using it to finance an $87,000 truck for a software engineer who hauls a bag of mulch once a year is a financial decision separate from the contract decision. The wrapper might be halal. The lifestyle drain absolutely isn't, and the dean doesn't congratulate you for making a wasteful purchase just because you used the correct wrapper to fund it. There's a term in economics called Veblen goods. These are products where demand increases as price increases because ownership signals wealth and status, luxury watches, designer handbags, absurdly expensive pickup trucks that never leave the pavement. You're not buying transportation, you're buying a billboard that says, I can afford this payment, even though you actually can't. Here's the path out. If you already own the truck and you're drowning, sell it. I don't care if you're upside down on the halal contract. I don't care if it feels like admitting defeat at the next Masjid event. You're going to take the financial hit now, buy something reasonable in cash and stop the bleeding. You lose money on the sale, but you lose less than if you keep making payments for another 5 years. If you don't own the truck yet, but you're thinking about it, I'm going to save you $100,000 in 7 years of stress. Don't. Just don't. Go test drive the boring sedan, sit in it, it's comfortable, it gets you to Juma and back, and when you're sitting in traffic, you won't be doing mental math about whether you can afford your own vehicle while also covering zakat. The auto industry has built an empire on convincing you that you're not enough unless you're driving their overpriced machinery, and the halal car finance industry has built a smaller empire on convincing you that the rapper makes the purchase okay. They've weaponized your insecurity about your masculinity, your status in the community, and your relationship with the deen and turned all three into monthly payments. The only way to win is to see through it. You don't need the truck. You never did. What you need is margin in your budget, options in your career, the ability to fund Hajj for your parents, the cash to send your kids to a real Islamic school, the bandwidth to pay zakat cleanly every Ramadan, and the ability to sleep at night without checking your bank account. The boring used sedan paid off in cash gives you all of that. The $90,000 truck takes it all away. As always, the math is the math. The scholarly views on halal car finance products genuinely differ, and your final ruling on whether your specific contract is permissible has to come from a scholar you trust who knows your situation. The next time you're at that dealership and the salesperson is walking you through the leather-wrapped steering wheel and the heated seats and the halal car finance contract that just happens to come with a 7-year term, remember this: they're not selling you a vehicle, they're selling you a financial prison with really nice upholstery and the Sharia-compliant contract on top. When the brother at the next Masjid event shows up in his brand new F350 and asks what you're driving these days, you can tell him the truth. You're driving a paid-off Camry that costs you $200 a month in gas and insurance. And with the money you're not spending on truck payments, you just booked Umrah for your parents, you're sleeping 8 hours a night, your Wahed account actually has money in it, and your zakat for this year is already set aside in its own bucket. That's not losing, that's winning so hard. Most people in our community can't even recognize it anymore because we've been trained to measure success by the size of our monthly payments instead of the size of our barakah aligned freedom. Buy the boring car, keep your money, build your life inside the deen.